masked man walking in the woods until he reaches the main road, and there he is like a big bus, waiting for him as soon as he leaves. He rides the truck. It moves with him, and he chooses. In the scene after that, Irina appears to us and a call comes to her on her phone. When she responds, she learns that she will not be accepted for the summer job she has asked for, and she feels frustrated because she wanted to accept this job in the summer so that she could pay the rent on the house, and he takes revenge on Bina. The movie then follows when Irina is practicing running as we see it, and she does not know or feel at all that someone is watching her, and also goes after her to the house and also looks at her from the window while she is sleeping, and when she feels that there is someone standing behind the window, she looks at him, but she cannot find it. There is someone present, and after that, when she is taking her shower under the shower in the bathroom, she hears the sound of a ringing bell, so she wants to open the door, but she does not find anyone there, but she finds a letter thrown on the floor in front of her, so she takes it and shows us the letter. She finds an invitation to visit the village of Kyrsyä, and they also tell her that she has been accepted for a job. She was on her way to it, so she decided to cut herself off and get on the bus. Finally, she will travel to the village of Kyrsyä to escape from the pressure of the busy life here in the city. When she is on the bus, we learn that the strange person who was watching Irina is on the bus, and he was watching her and was watching her. After that, she stays on the bus, and Irina sleeps during the trip and wakes up from the bus. She falls asleep, and when the bus stops, she remembers that she has arrived at the village of Kyrsyä. A girl from the bus and the strange person who was watching her goes to her and introduces himself to her as well, and tells her that his name is Pertti, and he knows that he is going to the village of Kyrsyä as well, but the village is still 10 kilometers away from here, and it is necessary they walk this distance on foot, and in fact, Irina and Pertti walk together towards the village and enter the forest, and Irina tells him that she tried to find out and search for this village on the internet, but she was unable to find anything at all. And they keep talking and showering together until they finally reach the village and are in. They are greeted by Maya and her daughter Maria, and Mother Maya tells them that her daughter Maria lived before in the city, but she returned after that due to the calm, beauty, and nature of the village here. After that, a woman from the village named Siri appears to us and welcomes them that she wants to put her bag and her needs in the place where she will sleep and sit. Here is the first, and she also tells them that I am exhausted and very tired from this trip, and Maria takes Irene to this bedroom, and the two of them will stay there together, and after that Irina goes and sits and eats with them, and the grandmother prays over the food and thanks the Lord that they are free from the rule, persecution, and injustice of the world, and they all pray to the Lord that they prefer they live like this as one family. And after they eat, Irina goes out and wishes to have a little time with Maria and tells her, Irina, I really like your prayers and supplications, so you focus on thanking the Lord for everything He has given you, even if it is very simple. And Maria tells her that most people are doing so at the present time. They do not appreciate the blessings that God has bestowed upon them. She consults Maria about a house in the village where a person named Mono lives. She continues to walk in the village, and Maria also takes it to the sheep from which they take wool and use it to make their textiles. Irina tells her that she very much likes the idea of work and practical production on the ground instead of studying theories and marketing at school. At night, Irina hears sounds coming from Mono's house, so she decides to go outside, but when she approaches Mono's house, she becomes afraid and returns again to her place. The second day in the morning, Irina wakes up from sleep and her phone has no signal at all because the village is far away and isolated. Very soon after that, she goes to have breakfast with them, and Siri asks Irina about her family and her family. Irina tells them that her father and mother separated from each other 6 years ago because After marriage, they no longer love each other as much as the first, and Irina reveals to them that her father currently has 2 children from his new second wife, the one who married her after separating from her mother, and when her grandmother asks her if she is currently in a romantic relationship with someone or not, Irina responds and tells her no, of course, and in the middle of the conversation, a biography of a woman named Hannah comes up. She used to work here. And when Irina asks about her name, Maya tells her that they don't care. They don't know where she is currently, and at this time Irina asks them about the nature of her work. So he tells her that she will collect mushrooms with Bertie, and as soon as they finish eating, Irina goes out with Bertie, and they both go to the forest to collect mushrooms. Here Bertie continues to teach her the difference between poisonous mushrooms and mushrooms that are not poisonous, and suddenly she hears a strange sound like this. He comes from afar, and Bertie tells her that this is a sound that hunters make to attract animals. But Irina mocks his words and cannot believe that there is such a thing as magic for animals. In the afternoon, Irina is in Astana with Maria, and they keep talking, and every time they walk together, words like this come together, and here Maria confesses. She tells her that she was pregnant when she was living in the city, but she had a miscarriage and returned to the village a second time. He also tells her that during the time she spent there, she came into contact with the idea that people who live their whole lives in the city are difficult for them to get used to and adapt to life and living in nature like our village, and Irina agrees with her. She tells her that you are very right, and Maria asks Irene the reason that made her leave life in the city and accept a job in a place like their isolated and remote village. So Irina tells her, because I was in dire need of the job, and I also wanted, frankly, to relax my nerves and get away from the pressures that I was living under and to reconsider my calculations again when they leave. After that, outside, they hear voices coming from Mana's house, and Maria says to Irina, go back home and I will find you. Maria then goes to Mana's house. This time, Irina sees a group of hunters who have returned from hunting and are eating a raccoon. It appears that she is upset by the sight and is walking at night while she is sleeping. Irina dreams of herself while she is in the forest, and she is carrying a small child in the wrapper between her and the hunters approaching her, carrying their weapons, and suddenly blood begins to seep from the fabric of the wrapper that contains the child, and when Irina reveals the child's face, she finds a raccoon that the hunters caught yesterday. And the next day Irina goes. She swims and curses in this pool of water and sees that there are 2 men standing and watching, but after that they walk silently and take revenge. We have the movie after that with Maya, Siri, Grandma, and Bertie when they are all in their church, and Maya is worried about her daughter Maria and God's punishment for her, but Siri says no, that Maria she committed a great crime by aborting this child. But Maya comes back and exchanges between him and her. He was going to live a very miserable and painful life, and we come back again to Irina and Maria, and they are together, and Maria is consulting with her about the 2 of them, and they are Sivri and Almarisgal, and when Irina looks at them, she recognizes that they are the same people who were watching us. At the pool of water, Irina asks Maria about Bertie, and she tells her why Bertie doesn't go out with the men hunting, so she practices it by telling her because everyone has a role and a specific job that he does here in the village. After that, Irina asks Maria about the children here because she hasn't been to the village for an hour. She didn't see them anywhere around her, but Sivri would interrupt their conversations, and he would come and say 2 words like that, and he would have mercy on Irina. And he would walk along, and at night she would show us that she was reading a novel like that, and she would be upset that the lighting was not enough, and the lighting lamps in the village here in general were all few and very weak, and Maria would say to her, I want to ask you a question. He's in the city. What do they do with a person who works his job and does not move or does not do it well? Irina leaves her innocently and tells her that he will be fired from work and another person comes in his place. For Irina tells her, but surely the one who does not do his job well does not really like this job, because if he loved it, it would be certain he will do it while he feels great pleasure and he will fall into it again, and after that they will talk for a while they sleep, and Irina will dream of a girl and there will be one of her eyes that is not there, and Irina will go after her until she gets closer to her, and the girl here will tell her, "My name is Kay," and she will also consult her about the barn that they are going to, and she will show us that her mother is inside this barn. Asking for her help, she puts her hand on Irina's face, goes down to her neck and grabs her tightly, threatening Irina that she will get rid of her and kill her, just as her mother killed her if she did not help her. And the next morning, Irina sees and notices Sivri and Mary's wife coming out of the barn in her court. She told her in the dream last night that her mother is there. So what is it? Irina is having fun and goes to the barn and goes inside, but she finds it empty and she cannot find anything there. After that, Sivri and Gail Marie return again to the barn, and Irina asks them about the mother of the girl, whose name is Cordo, and they also tell her that Cordo died a while ago, and Sivri tells her that her mother drowned her after her mother became sick of her and her behavior, so her spirit is always wandering around the place and she wants to teach her mother a very harsh lesson. Who else does Irina ask about Cordo's mother and wants to see her? At this time, Siri enters and takes Irina from here. After that, we see that Irina has moved on from collecting mushrooms. In the forest, she rolls textile balls with the rest of the women of the village. But she is not satisfied with this boring work, and Siri tells her that our work is very important and valuable. She explains the work to her and tells her that we wind and knit fabric and threads in exactly the same way that nature binds men and women, and after that she leaves it and goes outside. She sees the door of Mono's house opening, and Mono comes out of it, and she reconciles. It is very terrifying and keeps running after her. But none of the women interfere and they keep watching her, but fortunately for her, Sivri and Marie's gal arrive at the place at the right time and also catch Mono and Bessie. They fly to him, and here Irina is crawling on the ground, wanting Deo. He arrives at this place and Mono is breaking free from the grip of Sefri and Gal Alamari. He goes quickly and grabs Barina by the leg and pulls hard and wants to take off her clothes and assault her. Irina is frightened, terrified, and completely collapsed as she cries from what happened. So Maya tells her that Mono is a very strong child. That's why he was very young until he grew up, and he was running with his hands and generating manual electricity for the entire reader. That's why he always stays at home all the time, and Irina tells them that's why you were watching him, and he wanted to assault me. She tells them that you are mentally ill and I have to leave here immediately. Maya tells her that the first bus is her date will move tomorrow, and you must come here today. For Irina has no choice but to wait and go to Irina. She sits alone and also tries to find any signal that her phone receives, but to no avail at all. She calls Maria and offers her tea, and Irina tells her that she does not want anything and wants to be better alone, but Maria tells her, I can't leave you sad in this situation alone, and in fact you are letting her drink tea, and Maria is trying to change Irina's mind and let her spend the summer months with them here, but Irina remains determined that she will walk and return to her home again in the city. And after that, when the two of them are returning from the forest to their home in the village, they are surprised by Beverly and Mary's gal. They fight with each other and throw each other on the ground, but Mary tells her that they are like this, and in the end they reconcile and nothing happened. And he marries the truck driver who put the drug for Irina in her tea. Here, Irina feels dizzy and will faint, and Mary tells her that this village is the most beautiful place in the world and that she will surely love it. Life is here, and after that, Irina faints and completely loses consciousness, and Bertie says that Irina will give birth to her first child very soon. And then the village will have a new beginning. After that, they dress Irina in a white wedding dress and plan to marry Sivri, and she keeps crying and screaming that she is coming here to work, not to marry someone. One of the people of the village in Sivri responds to her and tells her, "You really came here to work, and we have a job, and a woman's job is to give birth to children." So, Irene looks at them and tells them that you are mentally ill and crazy because you grow up, someone marries someone she does not want to do in this criminal and humiliating way. When Siri approaches Irina, Siri tells him that it's not useful for him to touch her without marrying her. But he does not care about what she says, so she gives Siri to him and hits him hard on the head, and everyone present stops at this surprise, and Siri tells them that it's not good for them to do this and that they should let her choose. Indeed, he is convinced by her words, and Irina chooses that she will leave from here and take Maria. She is trying to run and wants to escape from them, so Irina started running into the forest, and she was in a state of extreme terror and fear, without even wearing anything on her feet. I was traveling, and the passerby went after her, and Irina finds her phone in her clothes, so she wants to call and ask for help, and when she feels that someone is coming after her and looking for her, she runs quickly and uses up her time. This is when Mary tells Siri that your bride is upset with you because you do not come to pray with me in the church. Siri is angry at his words and his provocation, and they beat her. Irina appears to us frightened and terrified, alone in the middle of the forest, and she finds the masked person hitting her hard and singing about her, and when she excels, she is upset that this is Hana who disappeared from the village, and none of them know anything about her, but we know that this woman is Cordo's mother, the girl in the middle of the one whom Irina saw in the dream. We also know that her name is Kiri, and we see that her 2 eyes were gouged out and placed in a bowl around her neck. Irina asks her why she killed her daughter Cordo and drowned, so she decided to defend Kiri from herself and tell her that her daughter Cordo was born with many deformities, and everyone also accepted her, and she also accepted herself. And things were going very normally until Maria returned from the city, and she was sitting in Cordo with Maria, and Maria was talking to her about the city, the way of life there, and the technological development in it. So Cordo began to think. She tried to implement ideas to develop this village of ours, but no one cared about her or her ideas, and Cordo began to hate her life and the life of the village, and she did things and actions that no one could tolerate at all, and in a moment of anger, I drowned her in the pond, and the people of the village rejected my behavior, gouged out my eyes, put them in a bowl around my neck, and expelled me from the village. Suddenly they hear Sivri and Gali Marie coming from afar, and Carrie asks her who you are, so she says to her, I am Hana, and she also wants to help her so that she can return to the village again if I help her and hide her from them. After that, Sivri and Gali Marie arrive at the place and ask Carrie about Irina, Sivri's bride, who ran away so that she could drown. The police come to the village, and Carrie tells them, I have not seen anyone, and I do not know anyone with that name, and I have not met anyone here either. Carrie asks them if they allow her to return to the village because her daughter Cordo is determined to completely destroy the village, but they refuse to return to the village because nature itself is satisfied with her, even if nature devours her. Eyes are in the bowl around her neck. At that time, they might allow her to return, so nature will still forgive her, so she will take the eyeballs and land on the ground. Insects will approach her, but she will not eat them, and they will walk away. At this time, Irina will be hiding inside Carrie's tent, and her bad luck is that a mouse will approach her and walk on her hands, so she will enter. While I was traveling, Mary's family started thinking that there was someone in the tent, and when they approached the tent, you noticed that insects were eating Kiri's eyes on the ground. Thus, nature forgave her for what she did to her daughter Kurt, and she has the right to return to the village and tell Then that you must arrest the one whose name is Irina D. Before she kills her, she escapes and returns to us with the police and destroys the entire village, and she does not know that she hid Irina herself in the tent from them, and after Sivri and Gali Marie leave from here, Irina comes out and says to her, "How can you help? I am after all that they did to him." So she tells her, "Carrie, because they are the people of my village and they love me and I love them." So Irina smiled. What would have happened to Sivri's bride if she had not left the village and married him and had a child with him? Carrie tells her that at that time her tongue will be cut out so that she will not be able to inform or speak or say anything about the village. Suddenly Irina burns phone, and her friend Maya will be the one calling, so he leaves her. Irina is talking to her and also telling her about everything that is happening in the village. So Carrie smiles and knows that it is Irina, not Hana, so she comes close to her and holds her tongue to cut it off, and thus the events of our movie today end. I hope you have a good time with us. Don't forget to, you like the video, support us with a like and subscribe, and also activate the bell to receive it.